We continue our series on the American Stock Exchange. In previous episodes, 3 alerts were presented indicating a high risk of significant declines in the Nasdaq and S&P 500 indices. Today's episode presents statistics from the Visual Capitalist portal, link in the video description, illustrating the share of households owning shares. Investing in shares is very popular in the U.S. However, it must be remembered that individual investors are rarely professional investors. In investment jargon, they are called small fish. The graph you are now seeing shows the process of fishing for small fish. First, you have to bait small fish so that they buy shares. In this episode, I will not describe the methods used. When the small fish are already full, the big fish can calmly swim away to safe waters and take up a position. Then the drainage technician releases the water from the tank and the small fish are left on the shallows. They are slaughtered. See, in the early 70s, 30% of shares were owned by individual investors. The crash caused every third shareholder to sell their shares in the first phase, and another 30% sold their shares in the next few years. In the low 80s, only 9.4% of shares were held by non-professional investors. 20 years later, the small fish were packed into the dot-com bubble. At its peak, about 38% of shares were owned by individual investors, and after the crash, only 23%. The crisis in 2008 caused a drop from 33% to 19%. Every third one got rid of shares. 16 years have passed since the last catch. The last corrections, in 2000 and 2002, scared away only a few percent of small fish, but even these quickly returned for the white worm. At the time of recording this material, the share of individual investors in the U.S. holding shares is at 42%, the same as 2 years ago. This is a record in U.S. history. We can assume that the majority of individual investors invest in American shares. Please note that since the beginning of the year 2020, there has been an unprecedented inflow of capital from individual investors. In other words, the population of small fish has exploded, and small fish have become attractive prey. You can see this in the presented graphic. Since the year 20, individual investors have been investing between $800 million and $1.5 billion in the stock market every day. Every day, day after day, this is 80% more than in the year 2019. The big shots are looking at these fat fish in disbelief. The next catch should be exceptionally abundant, spectacular, delicious. And what do you think the fishing for small fish will be like, and when will the season start? Write a comment. Subscribe to this channel to receive further information.